Lovely viewers, gather close because today's story is one that has shaken the very core of the fan communities online, especially those who have been following the fairy tale-like journey of Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo. Imagine waking up to find out that the couple you've been rooting for, the duo whose every public appearance makes your heart flutter, has suddenly been hit with a ripple of online drama. Yes, the story of the moment is none other than Lee Min-ho briefly unfollowing Song Hye Kyo on Instagram, an act so small yet so powerful that it immediately sent shockwaves across social media platforms. And you know what? The reactions have been nothing short of explosive. Fans across the world have gone into overdrive, speculating, questioning, and analyzing every possible meaning behind this action. Now let's sink into the moment together like we're gossiping over coffee with friends, because this isn't just about a click on the unfollow button. It's about what it symbolizes, what it stirs, and how it makes people feel. You and I know that in the age of social media, an unfollow isn't just digital housekeeping. It's often seen as the loudest silent statement one can make. And when it comes from someone as globally adored as Lee Min-ho, directed at someone as beloved and iconic as Song Hye Kyo, you can bet that people won't just scroll past it. They'll stop, screenshot, discuss, and create a storm around it. The timeline of this drama is fascinating. Fans who constantly keep an eagle eye on both Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo's online presence noticed it almost instantly. It started with whispers in fan groups, subtle comments like, "Wait, is it just me, or is Min-ho not following Hye Kyo anymore?" At first, many brushed it off, thinking maybe Instagram was glitching, which does happen sometimes. But then more screenshots began flooding in, and soon the news became undeniable. Lee Min-ho had indeed unfollowed Song Hye Kyo. Even though it didn't last forever, that brief act ignited countless theories. And this is where the interactive part of our story begins, because as I share these speculations, I want you, dear viewer, to think about which one resonates with you the most. Some fans immediately believed that it hinted at a fight. "They must have argued," one fan wrote on Twitter, racking up thousands of likes. Others countered, suggesting it was nothing but a slip of the finger or maybe even an app malfunction. But let's be honest here. Do accidental unfollows really happen that often? Especially from someone like Lee Min-ho, who understands the weight of his every action in the public eye. You see, that's why people aren't letting this slide so easily. The act itself may have been brief, but the shadow it casts is long. One group of fans thinks it might have been a strategic move. Maybe Lee Min-ho wanted to protect their privacy, to reduce the pressure that comes from fans monitoring their every online interaction. After all, we know how intense things can get when celebrities are in the spotlight. If he had unfollowed her temporarily to create some breathing space, could it be that he was just trying to shield their relationship rather than harm it? Think about it. Sometimes the things that seem negative on the surface may actually be rooted in protection and care. On the other hand, a different faction of the fan community is convinced that this points to some hidden tension. They argue that Lee Min-ho is not someone who would casually click unfollow unless there was an emotional reason behind it. Was it jealousy? Was it disappointment? Was there some disagreement between the two? These are the questions being tossed around endlessly, and the more people talk, the bigger the storm gets. And let me ask you this, lovely viewers. If someone you cared about suddenly unfollowed you, even if just for a short while, wouldn't it sting a little? Wouldn't you be left wondering what it meant? Interestingly, there are also fans who insist that this could have been a publicity move. In the world of entertainment, not everything is what it seems. Some believe that the unfollow fiasco was designed to generate buzz, to keep fans on their toes, and to ensure that both stars remained at the center of public attention. If that's the case, then bravo, because it certainly worked. Here we are talking about it, dissecting it, and turning it into one of the most trending topics of the week. But let's not overlook the emotional impact this had on the fandom. For many who have been shipping Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo together, this felt like a betrayal of their imagined happily ever after. Social media feeds were flooded with comments like, "Please tell me this isn't true," and "No, Min-ho, don't do this to us." Fans, who often feel personally invested in the lives of their idols, reacted with raw emotion, as if it were their own relationship on the line. This is the fascinating, sometimes bittersweet reality of fandom culture. The line between spectatorship and personal involvement gets blurred. And yet, as quickly as the storm began, it also started to settle when people realized that Lee Min-ho had followed Song Hye Kyo back. The relief was almost palpable. Fans cheered, memes circulated, and many celebrated it as if a breakup had just been averted. But even with the refollow, questions lingered. Why unfollow in the first place? Why risk such chaos even briefly? And does the fact that it was reversed mean everything is fine? Or does it hint at a deeper undercurrent we're not seeing? Dear viewers, let's pause for a moment here. I want to pull you directly into the conversation. If you were in Lee Min-ho's shoes, what would have made you hit that unfollow button, even for a second? Was it a moment of frustration? A desire for space? Or maybe something as mundane as a slip of the thumb? Reflecting on our own experiences can sometimes shed light on theirs, because at the end of the day, celebrities are still humans navigating emotions, just like us. Another intriguing layer to this is how the media spun the story. Tabloids wasted no time in crafting dramatic headlines, each one more sensational than the last. Cracks in the perfect couple. Lee Min-ho sends a message with Instagram unfollow. You could almost hear the collective gasp from readers who stumbled upon these articles. The narrative quickly escalated beyond the simple act of unfollowing into a full-blown drama that suggested conflict, heartbreak, or hidden secrets. But is that fair? Are we, as fans and media consumers, guilty of overinterpreting every digital move of our favorite stars? Still, it cannot be denied that the timing of the unfollow has made things even juicier. Some fans linked it to recent rumors surrounding the pair, suggesting that perhaps external pressure or gossip had taken its toll. Could it be that Lee Min-ho, feeling cornered by all the speculation, chose to make a bold move to send a message, only to later realize its consequences and backtrack? If that's the case, it reveals just how difficult it is for celebrities to maintain both a private life and a public image in today's hyperconnected world. Let's also look at Song Hye Kyo's reaction, or rather, her lack of one. Throughout this entire saga, she remained silent, posting nothing that hinted at drama, refraining from commenting on the situation. Some fans interpret her silence as strength, as a sign that she is unfazed by the noise. Others see it as evidence that maybe she was hurt but chose not to air her feelings publicly. Silence, after all, can be louder than words, and in this case, it leaves room for endless interpretation. Think about the irony here. In a world full of long interviews, press conferences, and elaborate media strategies, it was a single click, the unfollow, that spoke the loudest. That's the power of social media. And it's also why this story has captured the imagination of so many. It's not just about Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo. It's about the way we, as fans, read into digital gestures, assigning meaning to every like, every follow, and yes, every unfollow. But let me ask you, my dear viewers, do you think fans sometimes take it too far? Are we guilty of turning minor acts into major scandals? Or is it simply the price of fame, where every detail becomes amplified under the public microscope? Your thoughts matter here, because this story isn't just about the celebrities. It's about the relationship between them and the people who adore them. Now let's imagine the scene behind the scenes. Picture Lee Min-ho staring at his phone, scrolling through his feed, perhaps feeling overwhelmed. Maybe he pauses at Song Hye Kyo's profile, his thumb hovering, his mind racing. Was it a moment of emotional impulse? Or a deliberate choice? We can't know for sure, but imagining these scenarios is what makes us feel so connected, isn't it? It humanizes the stars, reminding us that their lives, though glamorous, are still filled with moments of uncertainty and emotion. And what about the aftermath between the two? Did Song Hye Kyo privately confront him? Did they laugh it off, dismissing it as nothing? Or did it spark a real conversation about boundaries, about how much of their personal relationship should play out online versus in private? These are questions that, while we may never get answers to, keep the story alive in our minds. Ultimately, whether the unfollow was intentional, accidental, or strategic, one thing is clear. It captured the world's attention in a way few things can. It reminded us of the fragile balance between love and scrutiny, privacy and publicity. And more than anything, it showcased the deep emotional investment fans have in the story of Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo. Lovely viewers, as we wrap up this chapter of the saga, I want to turn the spotlight back on you. What does this incident mean to you? Do you see it as a red flag, a harmless glitch, or just another reminder that celebrities are human? Your voices, your interpretations, and your emotions are what keep stories like this alive, weaving a tapestry of speculation, hope, and connection. So, the next time you see a headline about an unfollow, don't just dismiss it as a trivial matter. Remember this story, remember the waves it created, and think about how even the smallest online actions can ripple through millions of hearts. And perhaps most importantly, let's continue to follow the journey of Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo with curiosity, compassion, and a little bit of patience, because their story, just like life itself, is full of surprises. In fact, what happened after the dust seemed to settle is just as fascinating, because the true magic of such moments is not in the click of a button, but in the ripple effect it leaves behind, not just on the stars themselves, but on all of us watching from across the world. After Lee Min-ho refollowed Song Hye Kyo, fans didn't just breathe a sigh of relief and move on. Oh no, the conversation deepened. People began dissecting what this meant for their relationship moving forward. Was the quick refollow a sign of reconciliation? Did it show that whatever tension might have existed was resolved almost instantly? Or could it be that Min-ho realized the chaos his action created and quickly corrected it, not necessarily because of emotion, but to control the narrative? These are the subtle differences in interpretation that make fans stay glued to the story. And then, something even more touching happened. Fan communities began creating supportive hashtags, urging both Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo to ignore the noise and focus on their bond. Hashtags like #always with Min Kyo and #LoveWinsAgain trended briefly in online spaces, proving that while people love a scandal, they love reconciliation and hope even more. It was like watching a family rally together saying, "Don't worry, we've got your back." This is the power of fandom, turning what could have been a divisive, bitter moment into one that ultimately centers around unity and love. But imagine for a moment what might have been happening behind closed doors. Lee Min-ho, aware of the uproar, perhaps sat down with Song Hye Kyo for a quiet, heartfelt conversation. Did he apologize, telling her he hadn't realized how significant a simple click would be? Did they laugh about how the world was reading too much into their private lives? Or did it trigger a more serious talk about boundaries, privacy, and how they wanted to present themselves to the public? The beauty of it is that we can only imagine, but these scenarios feel so real because they mirror conversations we've all had in our own lives. Now let's make this interactive. Put yourself in Song Hye Kyo's shoes. If your partner unfollowed you, even for just a moment, how would you react? Would you shrug it off, laugh, and move on, or would you feel hurt, wondering what it meant? Think about your own answer, because in that reflection lies the very reason why this story resonates so much. It taps into universal emotions we all understand. Meanwhile, the media hasn't let go. Articles continue to pour in, each one spinning the narrative differently. Some frame it as a lover's quarrel, while others suggest it's a clever marketing ploy for upcoming projects. That's the thing with public figures like Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo. Everything they do, even unintentionally, can be tied back to professional angles. Could the unfollow have been a way to stir curiosity about an upcoming collaboration, or a subtle distraction from other headlines? If so, it worked because the world can't stop talking about them. Yet, the most heartwarming part of all this is how fans chose to interact with the story. Instead of turning it into a toxic blame game, many used it as an opportunity to share messages about patience, forgiveness, and the fact that relationships aren't always perfect. Posts like, "Even couples we admire have small misunderstandings, but love is stronger," flooded Instagram and Twitter. Doesn't that make you smile, dear viewers? Because it reminds us that love stories, whether in the world of celebrities or in our own lives, are built on resilience, on the ability to stumble and get back up together. And think about Song Hye Kyo's calmness. Her silence, her composure. It almost became a lesson in itself. Fans began quoting her silence as strength, with some saying, "She doesn't need to speak. Her grace speaks for her." Isn't that interesting? Sometimes doing nothing at all becomes the most powerful response. That's exactly what she did. Allowed the storm to rage around her, while she remained the calm center, untouchable, graceful, and dignified. Lee Min-ho, on the other hand, seems to have reminded fans of his humanity. For so long, he has been placed on a pedestal, seen almost as this flawless figure who never makes mistakes. But here, in one small action, he showed that he, too, can be impulsive, emotional, or even careless, just like any of us. And that's why so many fans feel even more connected to him now, because they saw a side of him that wasn't polished, wasn't scripted, it was real. So, lovely viewers, where does this leave us? In truth, this isn't just a story about an Instagram unfollow. It's a reflection of how love, fame, and technology intertwine in our world today. It's a story that makes us laugh, gasp, worry, and cheer all at once. And as long as Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo continue to live under the watchful eyes of millions, every small action will carry weight, will stir emotions, and will spark conversations just like this one. And perhaps that's the ultimate lesson here. Relationships, celebrity or not, are not defined by a single moment, a single slip, or a single misunderstanding. They are defined by the ability to navigate through those moments together, to rise above the noise, and to find a way back to each other's side. Lovely viewers, as you reflect on this saga, I want you to ask yourself, does this story remind you of a moment in your own life when something small blew up into something big? Maybe a text left unanswered, a social media post misinterpreted, or even a joke taken the wrong way. Did it sting? Did it create tension? And more importantly, did you find a way to make peace, just like Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo seem to have done? Share your thoughts because your voices are part of this larger narrative too. The journey of Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo is far from over, and this Unfollow drama is just one chapter in a book that fans around the world are eager to keep reading. Whether it leads to more speculation, more heartwarming moments, or even bigger surprises, one thing is certain: we will be here together watching, analyzing, and most importantly, supporting them through it all. Lovely viewers, let's keep our hearts open, because if this story has shown us anything, it's that love, whether in private or under the spotlight, is always worth rooting for. Even after the initial storm calmed, fans kept digging deeper, revisiting old interactions between Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo on social media, rewatching interviews, and analyzing past public appearances for clues. Isn't that amazing? A single moment triggered a wave of curiosity so strong that fans began creating video edits, Twitter threads, and even TikToks dissecting the couple's every move. Look at the way he smiled at her during that event, some fans posted, convinced that the bond was still unshakable. Others zoomed in on moments where they thought there might be tension, feeding theories that perhaps the unfollow was a silent cry of emotion. Now here's the interactive part, lovely viewers. Think about how you behave when you're curious about someone you care about. Do you scroll through their posts, replay old conversations, or try to find hidden meanings in their words? That's exactly what the fans are doing, because when you invest your heart in a couple like Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo, their story becomes part of your story too. And that's why people aren't letting this moment go easily. It feels personal, like watching close friends go through ups and downs. The fan creativity has been next level. Some even began writing fictional what-if stories online, imagining dialogues between Min-ho and Hye Kyo during the unfollow incident. One popular fan-written thread imagined Hye Kyo teasing Min-ho, saying, "So, did your thumb slip, or are you starting a war?" While Min-ho sheepishly replied, "I didn't know it would cause this much drama." Fans ate it up, not just because it was funny, but because it gave them a way to soften the tension and turn something potentially hurtful into a shared inside joke. And let's not forget the global aspect. Fans from Korea to the Philippines, from Nigeria to the United States, we're all talking about the same thing. Isn't it incredible how two people's online interaction can unite the world in conversation? People who might never meet, who speak different languages and live in different cultures, suddenly felt like neighbors gossiping over the fence, all because of one click on Instagram. That's the magic of fandom, and it's why stories like this one feel larger than life. But of course, the serious side remains too. Some fans worry that incidents like this put unnecessary strain on celebrities. They argue that perhaps we, the audience, are guilty of magnifying things that should remain private. After all, doesn't everyone deserve a moment of privacy, even when they live in the spotlight? And yet, the counterpoint is this. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo are not just private individuals. They are public figures whose lives naturally become intertwined with fan expectations. This creates a paradox. They crave privacy, but their fans crave connection. And sometimes, as we've just seen, Even the smallest actions spark massive debates about where the line between personal and public truly lies. Lovely viewers, imagine being in their shoes. Imagine living a life where every tap on your phone, every follow and unfollow, could become headline news. Wouldn't that be exhausting? Wouldn't it sometimes feel like you couldn't even breathe without someone noticing? This is the reality for Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo. And while fans mean well, it's important to also recognize the pressure they must be under. At the same time, there's beauty in the way fans rally around them. The wave of supportive comments after the refollow showed that despite the drama, people want them to thrive. Fans wrote things like, "We don't care about follows, we care about